Removing red eye in Photoshop is one of the simplest tools possible. The red eye tool is underneath the spot healing brush tool. So if you right-click or hold down for 2 seconds, you could switch to the red eye tool. All you have to do is move to the center of the red and click once, and it's magically gone. Now there are some tips for red eye. Usually, lighter-skinned people with blue eyes get more red eye. You can reduce the shutter speed of your manual camera if you know how to help prevent red eye. And there is often on most point-and-shoot consumer class cameras a red eye reduction, which is a pre-flash, a flash that really goes off 2 or 3 times before it actually takes the photo. But I find that tends to confuse the people who are in the photo. They think the camera's done, so they start moving. So you always have to warn people when that's happening. If your subject looks slightly to the side instead of directly at the camera, that also helps prevent red eye. But you'll notice the brown-eyed girl did not have a lot of red eye, but the green/blue-eyed girl did. Now if I look at this next shot, we have 3 people, and the red eye is more severe for the girls on the outside than the bride in the middle. So I'm going to do 1 click to wipe out the red in each. And there's barely any on the bride. So sometimes you run into a difficult situation where it makes it too dark. And I'm not really happy with the result on that eye, but on the left eye I think it's okay. So I'm going to go back to the old school way to remove red eye for the bride. There is a dodge tool, and I always tell my students it looks like a lollipop. Dodge is a photography term for lightening an image. Underneath the dodge tool is a sponge tool, and the sponge tool desaturates. It basically sucks out color, so in this case it would suck out the red. If I make my brush size smaller using my left bracket, all I need to do is click a few times on the red portion of the eye, and the red eye is gone. I use this technique on pets as well. If I zoom in with Command plus or Control plus, and I click once with the red eye tool, no benefit. So I'll come back to my sponge tool, and I should make this the size of the pupil. So I'll just hit my right bracket next to the letter P to make it bigger, or you can dial it up and just move your mouse over to see if you have the right size. And there we go. That green eye/blue eye is very easily removed. Now the last trick for bright eyes is sometimes if you aren't looking directly at the camera, you can look a little dead in the eyes if there's no glint or sparkle. So I like to use the paintbrush tool. And on the brush tool, I'll swap my foreground and background colors so that white is on top. There is a built-in brush, in fact several, which give kind of a glint in the eye style shape. So I'm going to use the star 14 pixels, or I could try 26 pixels. And I look for where the light is already hitting, and I click once. And this one it's really missing. He's a little wonky-eyed anyway. But I'll click right in the pupil area. And now when I zoom out, there's a little bit of life left in the old dog. And in the history panel, if I go to before and after, once you've removed that green eye, you may need to add back that glint to make it look realistic. Finally, sometimes I need to burn the pupil, improving the contrast between light and dark and helping the pupils not look so gray after you've desaturated. And when I burn, I always do between 10 and 20%, and I always do shadows. The pupil falls in a shadow area, and it will not harm the white I've already put in there because the white is a highlight. So now The dog should be finished. I'll zoom back down, and here, I'll stretch my history to see if I could see it. Here is before, here is after. If I look a few steps back in burning, a little flat, a little unrealistic, more contrast, a better image. So you've seen a few techniques for removing red eye. The very quick click to remove red eye is good if you have a lot of large, solid areas of red eye. And the sponge tool to suck out the red, to remove the red eye where there's less of it, but it's still enough that you want to take it out. And finally, sponge is also wonderful for green eye / blue eye removal on pets. And I usually add back a little sparkle in the eye and burn the pupils a little bit so they don't look so gray. So now you can have better looking shots without the distracting red eye.